Hello. We have been talking about making skin tones from complementary colors. And so here you can see my finished complementary color, like skin tone chart in my sketchbook. Excuse me. And just sort of a couple of extra experiments I did. I obviously didn't finish this one, but the rest of them. Remember, we were kind of focusing on making choices that felt like a range of skin tones. So there are a couple of things that I noticed as I was making these. Like, I really liked the golden yellow and the purple together and the series of browns that it made. But they hinted a little yellow, and not everybody's skin tone is kind of like a yellowed undertone. And so what I did then was experiment with that color, and I added a little bit of the pinky red to it so that it changed it a little bit to instead of having it be the yellow undertone, it changed it so that it would have like a warmer undertone. So know that you can experiment a little bit with the colors as well. So once you get a brown that you like, you can adjust. And usually the way to adjust would be to either add in like a little bit of the golden yellow, or to add in a little bit of the pinky. So here's another experiment that I did over here, because this, the green and the red combinations end up actually with really lovely browns as well. And these felt just a little orange to me, so I thought, well, I could put a little tiny bit of blue in it. And with this particular color here, added a little bit of blue, and then I got these browns here. So you can kind of see that you can adjust those a little bit as you paint. So what we're gonna do with this is paint a realistic colored portrait, but we're gonna do some practice first. So I'm using, you can see the folded the paper that I'm calling your sketchbook paper, right? It's this bigger sheets that came folded in half. So you can see I have my color experiments here on the one half, and I've just gone ahead and I've started working on a couple of little face chunks, right? So that I have an eye and an ear. She's wearing a hijab, so there is no ear. This is her headscarf here. But you can see it's part of her nose and her eye, his nose and eye. And where I got these images is here in your supply kit I sent home. Portraits. There are 4 of them for you to choose from, and you should have a sheet of transfer paper. So you can go ahead and put your transfer paper, remember it goes darker side down, and then just go ahead and transfer a part of a face. I recommend that you try a couple of different like skin tones. Obviously, I sent you black and white photos. Oh my gosh. But these two skin tones are quite clearly different. So that's thing 1. Obviously, all 4 of these folks would have different skin tone. Option 2 for transferring or making a face and not having to draw it yourself, which, you know, can feel a little scary if you're not really a drawer, is to, I'm just going to tip this here. In Google Classroom, I have posted a slideshow that has a bunch of faces. There's all kinds of them, actually. Loads and loads and loads. So you can see, and there are color versions of the ones that I sent you in your take-home kit, so that you have those for color reference. So here is what you can do if you don't have the transfer paper and you Maybe you lost the transfer paper, maybe somebody threw it out, whatever. So here's what you can do. So I can take my Chromebook, and right up here at the top section, there are two little buttons that look like gears. And I can click the bigger of the gears until it goes all the way to the right hand side. What that does is bring the brightness up on my screen. So you can see I can make it darker and I can make it brighter. So I want it to be all the way as bright as I can for this. I also want to be careful. I don't want to tip my Chromebook down. I want to keep my Chromebook upright. I don't want to press too hard on the screen. But what I can do now is I'm taking my sketchbook paper, and you can see that I can see right through the sketchbook paper. So I can go ahead and I can take a pencil and I can trace over the top of this. I can also like enlarge this. Oh, I'm used to a touchscreen. So if I want a bigger feature, like these are kind of small, you know, so however you want to make that work, is fine. Okay. So, but this is a way for you to trace, and transfer. So you can see that I would be able to just draw right through that, making sure that I'm careful, like I said, not to push too hard on the screen and not to flatten it out. All right. So if you don't have the transfer paper, that's definitely an option for you that I've been experimenting with, and it works really well. And then I gave you tons of choices in that slideshow presentation. So if the 4 that I sent home for you don't seem exciting, that's an option. The other thing is too, is now I have the color version that I can look at while I paint. Okay, so you can see I have started this portrait here, and I've included some of the shadows, and I've been using the color that I experimented with over here. So it is actually at the stage where I am going to need to, you know, keep working so that I can finish this example and try to paint her in as realistically as possible. So I have used, I think it looks like the yellow and purple combination maybe, because it's one of the ones that gets really close to black, to make something that's dark enough for like her eyebrow here, right? So you can see I'm using this little square brush because sideways this gives us a really skinny line, side to side it gives us a bigger line. I can go ahead and use also this same color to kind of deepen the shadow that's over here, because I can see once I get her eyebrow in that shadow over there isn't dark enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to paint, making sure that I don't get too detailed too fast. Remember, details are always a final step, a last step. And so I do, I bet the round brush might be a better choice for this. That can be okay. So you do want to just make sure that as you're working that you're leaving, like I said, some of these like finishing details until, you know, we have most of the skin tone in and most of the shadows in. Like this here, I said I can see needs to be darker. So just as a reminder for making shadows, look, I made this crazy dark looking shape. I can take my paintbrush, I rinsed it off, I've squeezed it dry. And then what happens is I can move that paint along and use it to make the shadows that I need as I go. So you can kind of see that I'm that crazy looking shape, that crazy looking line that I put in there. I am pushing that along so that it feels more like the shadow that I drew on her forehead. And this shadow that's under, like I said, the edge of her scarf, which I haven't painted in. It just feels like a finishing detail to me, definitely. But you can see that this will start to sort of come together. As I go into things like painting the edge, edge of her eye, I will need to, or their tear duct, I'll have to add a little bit more of kind of this pinky orangey red that I got from using the blue. And then also just adding in a little, because that's too bright, too bright. There we go. The tear duct will need to be a little, there we go, a little bit warmer color. Just even along the edge of her eye. So, and I'm seeing that as I look at the color photo on the Chromebook screen next to where I'm painting here. Again, that got a little crazy, so I cleaned my paintbrush out and I'm going to push it around. But you can see that it is always shocking, but these are the best kind of natural skin colors that you can make, is just by using complementary colors. So go ahead and do a couple of practice today and tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and we will do a realistic colored portrait next week. So I'll probably do 3 or 4. 1, because it's fun, and 2, just to kind of experiment with some different like facial skin tone colorations and see which ones are more successful for me. Also, just to sort of experiment and paint different kinds of people, which is always exciting. So you can see I'm increasing the shadow here on the side of her nose because I can see that I don't have that dark enough. Again, I cleaned my paintbrush off. I squeezed it dry, and now I am moving that paint around. Always the trick of watercolor painting. Put the paint on, clean your paintbrush off, come back, move the paint around. Happens in layers. No instant, I can't think and paint apparently at the same time, or talk and paint at the same time. But it will always happen in layers. Like there's no one quick, like I'm going to throw this down here and it's going to be fine. I also see that her nose is a little warmer color, so I'm using some of that same color that I put into her eyelid. Just kind of spreading that around here as well. All right. Go ahead, have fun using the colors that you made. And like I said, remember this trick. Put in the crazy looking color, clean your paintbrush, squeeze it most of the way dry, and then bump it around. Bump it around. So you can see I warmed up her face tone a little bit. Decided it was a little too cool. It's starting to come together, but it's going to take me a couple more times. Have fun.